I've always wanted a cottage garden. The problem is I live in California on a suburban lot with a modern style home. Not exactly the backdrop you would pick for a cottage garden. And mixing together a crazy cottage garden with a formal modern garden hopefully will create something beautiful and maybe something that you haven't really seen here on YouTube. Okay, so I want to start off our tour here with these amazing hydrangeas. And the reason I want to start here is because this is a perfect example of what I'm trying to do on my landscape, mixing that kind of classic and modern together to create something beautiful. So what are these? These are from proven winners. They're called Incrediball hydrangeas, and they're just a modernized variety that are almost flawless. I made a video that you can see here calling them the best hydrangea ever. They've got an improved stem on them, so they're less prone to flop like the Annabelles and the Limelights. What's also great is they bloom on new wood, so you're going to take the sucker all the way down to the ground. In spring, you'll see some new growth. Here they are early June. They're about 5 feet tall, and they're covered in beautiful, massive blooms. What's also great is they're a sun hydrangea. So here in California, they can actually take quite a bit of our sun. But if you're in a more modern climate, you'll be able to plant this sucker in full sun, have no issue with it. But the main reason to put this in your garden is pretty obvious. Look how massive these blooms are. Okay, so I've underplanted this entire hydrangea bed with these dwarf gardenia plants called radigans, and I'm hoping to kind of box them in just like you would do with a boxwood. Now in June, these little white flowers come out, and not only are they cute to look at, but they smell amazing. So this is our sitting area. You come out here in June, you've got a glass of wine or a nice beer, and you're ready to relax in the evening, and this whole area smells amazing from these tiny white flowers. I'm sure you notice this little vine back here. I planted this last fall, and this is its first year of growth. This is a clematis or clematis, however you want to say that. But here we are in June, and I'm finally getting my first little bloom. This is referred to as a Jackmani clematis. It has a striking, really bold kind of purple color to it, and I think it's going to be an amazing backdrop as it kind of fills in this fence. So you're gonna have the purple of the clematis and then the white from the hydrangeas. I've also mixed in some foxgloves and some alliums. You're gonna have that nice green hedge in time. So as this bed matures, I'm really liking where it's going so far. Okay, one more quick thing before we move on. Check out what I just found. I got a little too excited to find this little baby volunteer foxglove, but it just goes to show you that Mother Nature has her own way of designing the garden for you, and sometimes you just gotta roll with it. Okay, so how awesome are these? These are two 20-inch pots filled with David Austin roses, and these are called Princess Anne. Now, believe it or not, I planted these 3 months ago as bare root roses, and here they are covered in flowers and covered in blooms. Now, they start off this really rich pink color and then fade to a soft magenta. Now, I selected these roses because I don't have this pink color anywhere else in the garden. I mostly have pastels and purples and whites, so I thought that having a bold kind of rich color here would really stand out and again be a real focal point on this side of the garden. Okay, so on the other side of the garden here, I have more hydrangeas to show you. These are big leaf hydrangeas. These are the ones that your grandma had. Reality is actually your probably great-great-grandma had them because these date all the way back to the 1700s. These are the OG gangster hydrangeas. These are the originals. So these are big leaf hydrangeas. They start off as a really pretty white color. These were actually covered in blooms. I've probably cut 25 of them off or so. They start off as a stark white, and as you can see, they kind of age to like a pink color. Some of them have a little bit of blue tone to them. Some of them even have a little bit of a mix of a blue and a pink and a white. Really pretty hydrangea. Every cottage garden should have these. Now on the other side of the garden is full sun. And the backdrop here are 3 pillar Rose of Sharons. These are a proven winter plants. And what's great is these are exactly what I'm going for, and that's why they're here. It's that old school Rose of Sharon, kind of that staple in a cottage garden, mixed with a modern style, which is this kind of upright, narrow form. So if you're looking for something for a narrow garden, these are fantastic. What's great about these is they bloom late. So it's mid-June. They're covered in buds right now. And the next couple of weeks, they're gonna have this stunning like white hibiscus looking flower, and the hummingbirds go crazy for it. Now standing up above, these Verbena bonariensis get to be about 5 feet tall or so, and they are going to continue to self-seed themselves throughout this garden. So I'm hoping that they just really kind of fill in the garden with verbena. Below that is a pennisetum grass called Hamlin, and these get to be about 2.5 feet tall. What's weird is we had a very cold winter a very rainy spring and a very late summer, and it's been very mild. And I don't think that these have gotten the heat that they need to get to be that 2.5 feet tall that they normally are. This little grass right here is called carex grass. This is an Avarillo. And I just love using chartreuse in the garden. I think it's a cool color. I think it adds like a little bit of a pop or flair. So in time, as these kind of mature out, you're going to have the Pennisetum grass up to here, the Avarillo grass, you're going to have the Verbena. So on a windy day, this is going to be an absolutely stunning section of the garden. Okay, so hidden in the corner here amongst all this beautiful cosmos is an apple tree, and every cottage garden should have an apple tree. And this is a Honey Crisp apple tree, which I think between me and my family, we all agree that's the best apple. Yeah, in order to supplement it, because my kids come home every day from school and I think all of them eat apples, and I'm sick of not getting any. So I'm going to grow my own. I gave it a hard prune last year, and it looked like a little stump, and it wasn't really putting on any growth. So I decided to throw this cosmos seed out that I had, just hoping that maybe if it was a stump, it would hide it so nobody would see it. And sure enough, the apple tree has really taken off this year. I'll give it another hard prune later on. And supposedly that's where all the fruit will bear, is every hard cut you do. It controls the size of the tree. It's supposed to give you more fruiting. Now, if you're looking for a seed to just kind of throw out in the garden, water it once in a while, and it's sure to grow, it's Cosmos. I've never done that before. I've grown them in trays before, but I've never grown them just throwing them out in the garden. And this is just kind of a mixed variety. Next year, I'll probably throw out a brand called Cupcake. I saw them online. I think they look absolutely beautiful. But again, if you're looking for a seed to grow that pretty much is bulletproof, I barely water it. Yeah, Cosmos is where it's at. Now, so next to the apple tree is our first rose. And mind you, this is kind of a rose bed right here. And they're very young, so keep that in mind. They will mature. This is about a 1.5 years, maybe almost 2-year-old David Austin rose called Emily Bronte. She's got kind of a creamy, peachy, pinky, apricot color flower. Really beautiful rose. Early on in the year, she was covered in blooms. I mean, I probably took, I don't know, 2 vase loads off of her, and she's just starting to get, I think, her 3rd flush. Next to that is a salvia called caradonna, really popular right now. Almost like a black stem, really deep purple colored flower. I liked it so much that I decided to fill in this spot here with another one. And then in front of that is a echinacea that I grew from seed, because you cannot buy echinacea pallida in our area. I think it's like a prairie flower if you're in the Midwest, but here in California, they don't sell it. You can't buy it, so I had to grow it from seed. It's just one that I eyeballed online and thought, you know what, I want coneflower, I want echinacea, and that's the one I want. So decided to grow it from seed. And as you can see, they're very miniature right now. I've got about 15 dotted throughout the garden. I did get 2 flowers, which to me is a big success, but I think next year is going to be the big show with the echinacea pallida. Next to that is a rose called Desdemona. This is another David Austin rose. Really kind of a soft, dainty, frilly flower, highly fragrant. This is probably my favorite fragrant rose that I have. Definitely my favorite David Austin fragrance. Someone suggested it smelled like baby powder, which I kind of agree. But if you've ever smelt Gio Armani, it's kind of like a lemon scented cologne, men's cologne. That's what I think it smells like. Behind it is more Verbena bonariensis, real tall volunteer plants. These guys showed up throughout the garden. And then below here is another like fairy flower or Gara. And in the wind, these are really, really pretty. They're also a bee magnet, so the bees come and just cover this plant. Last thing I'll say is this was supposed to be 18 inches tall and 18 inches wide, and they're 3 feet tall and 3 feet wide. So either I got the wrong Gara or the wrong tag size. There's something up with that, but they grew way larger than they were supposed to. And in fact, I had to kind of redesign some of this garden just because they got so big. All right, so as I mentioned, this is a work in progress, but again, look at these Gara plants. They're absolutely huge. They're really pretty though. Like when the wind comes in, they sway in the wind. Between them, I have another rose that I just planted a couple months, not even 2 months ago, like 1 month ago. It's called Olivia Austin. And once she, kind of grows in between these 2 large Garas, I think that really pink, light pink, soft pink cupped flower is going to look really pretty with kind of the white Gara. Some more volunteer Verbena bonariensis. One thing I'm doing on this side of the garden is I'm growing a bunch of strawberries. And so the idea is that you want to mix your edibles in with your roses, just like they did in classic gardens. And I'm going to have them all throughout here. So as the runners come in, I'll just snip them off, tuck them in the garden, and that should have just a nice little hedge of strawberries. So when I'm, next summer, when I'm deadheading the roses, I'll be able to just pick a couple strawberries now and again, eat the strawberries. The kids absolutely love picking the strawberries too. So I just want to have as many of them in the garden as possible. Here is another rose I planted at the same time as the Olivia Rose Austin. This is the Lady Gardener. And again, she's going to fill in this whole section right here with kind of an apricot, white, kind of creamy colored flower. Really excited about this one. I got some more salvia caradonna, and then again, another echinacea, a sad echinacea pallida. But again, these are going to be, really filling in this side of the garden, and then this will be tucked in between it. This is another rose. This is called Bolero Rose. Really great rose if you've never heard of this one. Again, highly scented, nicely cupped. The outsides are all white, and then it has just a hint of blush in the middle. So really great rose, really highly fragrant. At the end there, I have another big Gara. And then for just structure in the garden, I have a real nice tall, this is a bay laurel tree. So again, this is kind of the rose garden. But I think next year when this is, a big rose bush here and a big rose bush here, and then you got all the underplantings with the strawberries, the caradonna salvia, it's going to be a highlight of the garden. Back bed here is 80 feet long. And if you've ever planted an 80-foot long border, you realize it's tough. It's tough to do. In fact, the first time I did it, it looked nice, but I wasn't happy with it. And life's too freaking short, so I decided to rip it all out and start over. And I really like the way it turned out. Let's take a closer look at it. This part of the garden is only about 2 months old, and to kind of pull it all together, I added some repetition in the garden by adding that caradonna and Gara that you saw on the other side of the garden in this garden bed. You'll also notice about 10 or so of those baby echinacea pallidas. Those are the ones that I grew from seed. I wanted to add kind of a light purple to contrast with the dark purple of the caradonna, so I planted some nepetas Walker's Low. I also added a pink and kind of dark purple salvia, which is called Shell Dancer. You'll also notice I added some of that Hamlin grass. There's definitely a pattern to all of the planting, which keeps it kind of modern, but they're all densely packed in, which keeps it very cottage garden. So next year, this should be an absolutely stunning section of the garden. All right, so the last part of the garden we're going to talk about are these two stunning roses. These are called Earth Angel, and if you ever see them at the garden center, they are absolute must-buys. They almost look like peonies. They're really deeply cupped, blush on the interior, white on the outside. Fantastic smell. So they're going to fill in this entire section of the garden, getting about probably 4.5 feet tall and about 3 feet wide. I've underplanted them with this hardy geranium called Roseanne. This was plant of the century at one point. And playing off of that like light purple with dark purple, this is a dwarf lavender called Blue Spears. We've got some alliums that have popped up. We got some delphiniums coming in. In the back there is an oakleaf hydrangea. I've got 3 of those in the garden. It used to be a white color. These were actually the first to come up. And they've now faded to that really pretty pink color. And what's even better is in the fall time, they turn like almost like a crimson red color. Really, really, really pretty. So yeah, so there you have it. That's the tour of the garden. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Now what's coming up next on the channel is I'm going to be posting a full redo of my veggie garden. I'm going to be adding some new beds, moving some things around. We built a potting bench or potting table on the channel for just $100. So when I have a permanent place for that in the veggie garden. So I'm going to post that video right here when it's available. And in the meantime, you definitely want to check out my top 10 favorite perennials. I'll post that right here. So thanks for checking out the channel. I'll catch you in the next one.